Hey everyone, it's Sherry with Pearl at the Mailbox, and January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and it's on my heart to just introduce you to some of these amazing women that are working on the front lines to make a big difference in this evilness that's in our world. And I would like to introduce you to Nancy, who is with Mercies New. Nancy and I met a couple of years ago and have worked together on a couple of projects. But her ministry is very special and very unique, and she needs to be heard. So, Nancy, welcome, and please introduce yourself. Oh, and before you forget, my dogs are here. They will bark. And this is not a professional podcast. It's just reality. So here we go. All right, Nancy, go
All
ahead.
right. Well, thank you, Sherry, for having me. It's a great pleasure to be on your podcast or your YouTube channel. And I have enjoyed our friendship very much and your passion for helping those caught in human trafficking, for sure. You've been a great inspiration. I got involved with this back in 2012 when I was in California, had no idea about sex trafficking and just started hearing about it. Got involved a little bit with just finding out information through Vanguard University in California, and then moved to Houston. And I started getting involved with different organizations, trying to get some training, like what do I do with this knowledge and how do I help? And I've always had a heart for those that are caught in sex industries. I never knew what to do with it, but I'd drive by a strip club and I would just pray for those people to know what true love is and how to be encouraged or find hope or
Right,
find ways out.
right,
And so from there, I got lots of training, ended up with a group of women who sat around their table praying every week, made cookies, and wrote notes to the women in strip clubs and in fake massage parlors. So we would
okay,
go out every 2 weeks and love on those women. And it was just so beautiful to meet these real people who, um, who just are in dire situations, who have been forced into these roles and are just struggling, trying to survive. When
right.
I Go ahead.
No, so I was going to ask you when you felt the calling to get involved, how did that come about?
That was interesting because that was truly a God thing. I was looking for something to do in the community. I had helped with um, crisis pregnancy center in in uh, in Mobile, and I wanted to do something when I was out in California to be out in the community. And I started going to different minute meetings. Everywhere I went, they talked about human trafficking, sex trafficking, and I
Okay,
had no idea what that was. But after about the third or fourth time, I started looking into it
because you kept hearing about it.
because I kept hearing about it and figured, okay, God's got my attention. So, and then I was given a necklace on my birthday in 2012 by a friend in the apartment complex that was made by a survivor in Thailand. And I thought, okay, this is my calling. This is what God wants me to get involved with. So
Uh,
that began the whole journey.
and so you started focusing on going into strip clubs and just administering to the women there.
Them and the massage parlors, the fake
Okay,
massage.
so you did them simultaneously.
Yes, we would visit about 12 or 13 places every other week in Houston, North Houston area. And so that's where I got trained and, valued prayer and the support and just the human touch that these ladies are dying for and real conversation. And
True.
when I moved here to Phoenix area, I couldn't find any ministries like that or any outreach. So my husband and I decided that we would go to the fake massage parlors near us that I felt safe enough going to by myself. And he
Right.
had been trained as a driver, so he would drive me and stay out in the parking lot. and I would go in and start loving on the women in our area that are caught in these fronts for brothels. Basically, that's what these illicit massage parlors are.
Yeah, that was my next question. When you use the word like fake massage parlors, how do you know when is one that's there to actually a legitimate business versus one that, like you mentioned, was is a brothel or is a front for trafficking?
It is a front for trafficking these fake places. So it's a great question. When we would drive by, because of my training, I could start recognizing them. The wording of the place, massage or spa, is usually in block letters.
Okay.
Usually you cannot see inside the establishment. And because they have reflective glass windows on the outside and on the door. And so that's one sign. They are usually open late at night or 24 hours a day. And generally, the clientele going in and out are men, all age men. And
Okay.
when you walk in, I mean, here in Phoenix, it's not too unusual to have reflective glass windows because it's 110 and more during the summer.
Right.
But when you go into these places, you have a security camera somewhere in the entry area. You have a locked door that goes into the back. You have a little welcome window that has um, reflectivity on the glass as well. The
Okay.
women might be dressed in like a lab coat type thing or very risque,
A
something that's
lab
not.
coat? You mean like a doctor's lab coat?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah.
because they
It's
don't have anything on underneath?
sometimes yes. Sometimes it's more suggestive lingerie wear. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean it snaps up, so but it looks like like a maternity ward nurses. I don't know, from old time ago,
Oh,
long time
that's
ago.
fascinating.
Yeah, so sometimes they have that on. Sometimes they just come out as they are. Sometimes, I mean, with some clothes on. Sometimes they look sort of normal, but generally they don't. They are not legitimate just by the feel you can get in there.
Well,
Now,
so oh, go ahead. And then I was after you
they,
finish your thought, and then how did you get inside one of these places?
uh, you just walk in. I mean,
Really?
well, because they are businesses. They are made to look like legitimate businesses, so the general public doesn't realize what's going on. They are next to they're next to donut shops. They can be next to barber shops. They can be next to hardware stores. It doesn't matter. One I go to is next to a child daycare center, which is scary to me. Uh,
Wow.
so they just look like they're normal businesses wanting to give normal massages, but they are not. However, when you go in, they have sometimes a business license posted. They have the cost of the massage, generally $60 for 45 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
And they're trying to look legitimate. They really are. But
Okay.
that's just a front. These massage parlors can make $250,000 a year up to over $1 million easily. And the women get nothing. They have usually a huge debt of $45,000 plus or whatever if they're from Asia. And most of them that I do visit are from China. Some are Thailand, some are Korea. But we have more and more from Mexico, and some of our own people, from the United States are there. It's such a profitable business,
Right.
second fastest growing crime in the world for sex trafficking because you can sell people over and over again.
Absolutely. And the
And
fact that it's trying to appear as an actual business, and so it's getting a business license,
right,
but yet there's trafficking. How come this has never been, well, maybe it has, and I'm just not aware, but how come the police aren't involved? How come they can't close these places down? Do you
that's a
know?
great question. Get asked that all the time. The police are involved. I work with a vice detective, and they go and visit these places somewhat regularly to try and ensure they're compliant with the law. Now, the tricky part is they always plead dumb. Okay, and they try and make it look like legitimacy. If they can, the police can realize there's illicit sexual stuff going on, they will arrest the people, but they will get out because they're too afraid to testify against
Mhm.
their pimp.
Right.
And most of the time, if they have been brought, say, from China, their passports have been taken or their visas. So they're undocumented and they're terrified. They're told the police are evil.
Right.
And so it's just a vicious cycle. Also, if they say what's going on, these traffickers know where their families are, even if they're back in China. And
Mhm.
the snakehead gangs will go and make trouble for their family. So it's a very insidious crime.
It's
It's
so heartbreaking.
sucked into it, and it's just horrible. And many of these women, I believe, are trying to apply for a legitimate job, and then they're forced or coerced into this sexual industry.
So, do you think, let's say, example, these women, as you referred from China, they are being recruited in China saying, oh, you can come to America, we've got a job for you.
Yeah,
And so they are just brought right into this, this
yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
say job because it's not a job. There's
No,
just this
it's,
nightmare
yeah,
that they're
it is.
thrown into. Oh God,
Yes,
so
yeah,
hard.
and a lot of them are from poor areas
Okay,
in China, and so they're wanting to make money or to send money
right.
back for their families. Um, Women are not regarded very well over in China,
Hmm.
and a lot end up in prostitution. So it's not too foreign to them in some
Right.
sense. But I met one gal that had recently come. She got married, through like a mail order bride sort of thing.
Okay.
Came to New York, was immediately put into brothels in New York, and just terrified. And she ended up here in Phoenix, and she was just scared. She didn't know
Oh
what
yeah.
to do, and they don't know our culture, they don't know our laws, they know nobody. They're dependent on the pimp, so
Right.
it's it's horrible.
That's heartbreaking. Do you think that some of these women are able to escape and get out?
The ones in the massage parlors is very tough. Very, very tough, especially if they're from a foreign country, because unless they're willing to work with the police when they're arrested, the chances of them getting out are probably very small. In general, less than 1% are rescued out of sex trafficking, whether it's on the streets or in
Right.
hotels or massage parlors. So, and then within 7 years, they're usually dead because of violence or homicide, suicide, whatever you want.
The grace of God, I'm that 1%, and
Yes.
you know, I'm still kicking. So,
You are my inspiration, Sherry, and all the others who have survived and overcome, because I know that overcoming is a lifelong thing, but
yeah,
you
it
are
is.
you are doing it, and I'm so proud of you. Not only
Aw,
to endure all that hardship, but to come out of it and care for others and be
I
whole.
appreciate. Yeah, you know what? When you experience something in life, whatever it may be, that's horrific, you do so much good if you talk about it and help others than just. It's almost like suffering in silence because things do are brought up just by colors, smells, and stuff. And it's nice to know that there's a network of people and people that are on the front lines like you, that the boots on the ground, the warriors, we can just talk with one another and say, okay, this is what we're seeing or this is what we're experiencing. And I love that about you. Now, tell me, what does Mercy's New, your ministry, do?
Uh, we right now really just focus on the massage parlors, and we go about once a month. That's my
And what do you
goal.
mean when you go once a month? What are you doing?
Okay, what we're doing is I only have one other partner. Hopefully, I've had some issues getting partners, but but
Okay.
I need a partner, and my husband drives, and we go in. My partner and I will go in as my husband watches the outside to make sure everything's okay.
Okay.
And we don't go in if there's a guy going in, or we wait a few minutes to make sure he's gone in the back before we go in. And then we bring in a rose. And we used to bring in cookies, and then we found out the Chinese people don't really like cookies very much, and they don't read our notes because they're in English. And so
Okay.
we've resorted to roses, and they
Okay.
really like that. They're often their faces light up
Oh,
quite a bit because we tell them you're beautiful, and God sees you as a rose, and you matter. You are beautiful, and sometimes they understand that, sometimes not. But the rose itself, it's a real rose, just blesses them a lot. And, these women are forgotten. And
yeah.
so any little thing that we can do to give them a touch of dignity and hope is our desire, and to plant a seed that God cares about them. We give them the rose. We also offer them, if they would like, a Gospel of John in their language. We have Chinese and Spanish and English,
Okay.
and often they're very appreciative. Some are very excited about it. Some say they know Jesus, and so it's really an encouragement to their spirits.
Wow.
But usually we're in there for maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes, not very often. Once in a while, particularly in the Spanish speaking ones, when I have a partner that speaks Spanish, we may be in there for 5 minutes or so. And those usually have much better conversations, and the women really don't usually like what they're doing. They would
No.
rather do something else, but they're trying to provide for their children,
Right.
if they're from Mexico, or just stay quote unquote safe, from their pimp or whatever, and or madam. Pimps are not only men, they're women too.
Right. And they're
And
in debt. Usually, if they've been brought
yes,
over from another country, they're having to pay off this
yes,
never ending debt.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it is never ending. They have to pay for whatever they eat. They have to pay for sleeping there, and they're usually sleeping there often, but especially the people from China. So the pimps can monitor them all the time, and everything they need is dependent on the pimp. And then they're moved every month or so. The gals we
Mm-hmm.
meet are usually moved to Los Angeles area,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes Las Vegas, sometimes New York, so that they're always dependent on the pimp. And there's new product, in a sense, in their eyes for the
Mm-hmm.
customers that come in.
Uh, Shame on those buyers, man. You know what? I keep trying to go after them legislatively, and I'll be back again in 25
Good.
to hold them accountable because they don't realize that maybe their 20 minutes of pleasure is destroying so many lives.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know, that
absolutely. And
sickness.
yeah, in Houston, they used to publish their pictures in the paper, which was a big deterrent. Here we have Arizona Men, which is a great organization that works with the police. They set up fake lines and phone lines and talk with the Johns and say, "Hey, are you really willing to, go to jail for this, destroy your marriage and your family, lose your car, pay this huge fine?" And
Oh,
a
so
lot
they
of,
set up an ad and these men call the ad
yeah,
the buyer.
yep, yeah.
Wow.
So it's a great organization. It really
That
is, called
yeah,
Arizona Men, I believe.
that's amazing. Yes, we need
So
more like that. Maybe to give a man, and it could be a woman too, but give them the opportunity to think twice about what they're doing. And even if a
yes,
lot of them are very selfish if they're buying and they don't care about the victim, but they may care about the fact that it's going to destroy their life.
yeah, yeah, and they've had good results with this, from what I've heard in years past. That
Wow.
just the casual buyer will think twice and maybe stop. Some people don't care; they're just in it, and I think it's a complex thing. I mean, my heart just, everybody is caught in a web, whether
Mhm.
it's the women or the buyer or the pimp. They're all trying to gain power, or they're sucked into these lies that thinking that this will satisfy them, for the buyers and the pimps. And money or sex is not going to satisfy, and then
No.
with pornography, it's just addictive, just like a drug. And
Yeah.
so it's the next step of, looking at pornography, and it's a horrible, horrible cycle. And the
I
whole
know it often
family is
starts with
broken.
pornography and then it changes the chemical mindset, and then they're
Absolutely.
not responding to the pornography just like maybe in their own home, and then so now they need to go and actually find a, sadly, a human being, just a body
Yep. Yep, they
to,
do. And they want to act out their fantasies. And I
yeah,
mean, we've seen men go into these places, to the massage parlors that are regular, everyday people, construction workers or whatever. And then we've seen people drive up in Mercedes and Lincolns and whatever, and going in, and they're doctors or lawyers. I mean, they're pretty dressed up. So
yeah, I
it
understand.
runs the whole gamut, any race, any socioeconomic
When
background.
you sit in a parking lot and you watch a man go in, on average, how long are they in there? Do you know?
We don't stick around to find
Well,
out.
I truly would be curious to see, okay, how long do they, how long are they in there? I just,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
would guess at least 30 to 60 minutes, but I really don't know. I have
ugh,
no idea.
oh my
And
God,
it's heartbreaking for what the women endure. And they basically are getting raped, 10, 12, whatever times a day.
right.
And just think about that every day of the year. And that's horrific.
Do
And
you think that they also have minors?
in the massage parlors, yes, some of them do. I have known some people that have gotten out that were trafficked in massage parlors as minors. They are in the back. We don't usually see them when we go in. We usually only see one, maybe two people. But yes, and at least the ones that I know of were American citizens. And I mean, it happens everywhere in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, Gilbert, you know, Glendale, everywhere. Phoenix is the hub for all the sex trafficking in the state, but it's in every major city and
Yeah,
some little cities
absolutely.
too.
So again, share what the clues are on the exterior of the building that can tell somebody that's not a legitimate massage parlor.
If you see it says massage in block lettering, or spa or Asian massage or something like that, that it's in block letters. Sometimes they'll have like red lights around the window or something.
Okay.
But the to be able to see into the facility without going inside is prohibited because of reflective glass windows or curtains or something, or
Okay.
posters. And so, and then they're open till 10 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock at night, or 24 hours a day. So
Oh,
those are the main signs. They're trying to look legit, but they're really not.
yeah. Now, is the lettering like usually in red, or does the color not matter?
Uh, I've seen it in red. I've seen it in yellow.
Okay, so
Um,
it's just the chunky, blocky letters.
yes, generally. Yeah. Usually red or yellow, probably. And sometimes they'll have a sign out on the driveway with a sign says Asian massage with an arrow pointing in.
Wow,
So,
interesting.
yeah. And some of these places have websites, and you can tell that they are not legitimate by just their advertisement. And there's,
There's one out where I live that's popped up and it says Thai massage.
mhm.
Do you have a feeling that is probably not legit?
Some of it's
You'd have
hard
to
to
look at
tell
it.
because we got a couple in our area recently, and they say the same thing, Thai or Asian massage, and we go in and it looks nicer than the other ones we've been at, but I'm
Okay.
still suspicious. Um, One of the things I want to mention is that to get a license for massage in Arizona is different than other states. But Arizona, as far as I know, has reciprocal licensing. So, somebody, California says, you can just practice massage under somebody for 30 hours, then you can get a license. That's just a guess. I don't know what they say.
Right.
But
Okay.
then they move here and they theoretically can get a license. There's stipulations, but they're not enforced. It's the massage licensing bureau is not like cosmetology where they get checked on and stuff. Um,
Okay.
so it's a huge loophole,
Yeah, I see that.
huge loophole, and it's very hard. Uh, Mesa has changed their laws. Glendale has changed some of their laws in order to prohibit these businesses from getting shut down and then opening right back up or something like that. So it's the laws need to be changed, and sometimes the city council's not too eager to change the laws. As you know, you're working in laws and
I know.
legislation,
I'm thinking
and
maybe it needs to be a state law, a
it
state law
would be
across the board.
awesome.
We'll have
It's
to talk about that uh,
yes,
after this. Since it's legislative session, it's time to. People are receptive right now to listening to human trafficking. I think when the Sound of Freedom came out like a year ago, people are starting to pay attention. And I think that a lot of the people in the House and Senate, at least here in Arizona, are eager to change some laws to protect minors and those that are being trafficked. So we'll
that would
talk
be
about
great.
that. Now,
Yeah.
you're also doing things with what's called the fountain, right? Why don't you
Yes.
talk about that?
The fountain is an outreach of Where Hope Lives at the Phoenix Dream Center. And they have a strip front little business area. It used to be a chiropractor's office. And we every Saturday we're open and we invite women from the street, the main track in Phoenix. And we invite the women to come in to have a hot breakfast, get some clothes, get a warm place to be for a little bit or a cool place to be, depending on the season. And we're just a resource for them and a safe place. We lock doors so there's no men allowed. And we try and love on them well and build a relationship so that when they are ready to start thinking about coming out or want to come out, that we can help facilitate that. We're trying to build a relationship, and some people come once, some people come every week, and some
Okay.
people tell their friends. And the women are very, very grateful because everything we do is for free, and they can come every week and get 5 articles of clothing every week and get something to eat and a pair of shoes. Everything is donated, so
Okay.
it's an amazing outreach, and it's what's needed because many ministries in sex trafficking are for the person who's already come out or trying to do education to prevent, which I'm
Right.
also involved with, but
Right.
very few go out to where they are, and these women are totally in being used, and they don't
Hmm.
know if they get in a car with a John if they're going to be living or dead the next 10
Right.
minutes.
You're right.
It's
You're
scary. I
right.
mean, and then so we try and be a safe place for them and a place to give love and dignity and share Jesus with them if they would like to hear. Nothing's
Right.
forced, but just to show them kindness and dignity and give
Right.
them choices. What do they want to eat? What do they want to pick for clothes? Because often they don't have any
Right.
choices.
You don't have choices when you're
Yeah.
trafficked. Your choices are made for you.
Yes. We had a
Um,
woman come in once and she wouldn't even eat because her pimp wasn't there. She
because
told,
she
she,
didn't have permission to eat.
yep. That's how much fear they instill in these young women. And it's
Isn't
not
it?
just women, it's boys and men too that are trafficked. That's a
Oh
huge,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Boys are trafficked at a much younger age than girls,
yes.
um, but girls are trafficked longer. But yes, yeah, a pimp trafficker, a human seller. That's really what it is. They're selling a human.
Yes,
Um, it's amazing when they get control of your mind.
it's
You
horrible.
you do what you're told to do out of survival. I understand that. When you're told when you can and can't eat, when you can and can't sleep, and just that tactic that a lot of like military agencies use to get control of prisoners and stuff. Um, yeah, you're fearful to do anything on your own. When I was rescued, I didn't know how to make a single decision for myself. So
I
I get
believe
that.
it.
I love what you're
It's
doing. I
it's a
love what you're
wonderful
doing.
ministry. It just it's real conversation, and it's a real privilege to get to know these women. And and I had one honest with me the other day, and it's like she's afraid to go out because it's to come out of the life because it's scary. She knows how to survive out here on the
Right,
street, but to go someplace else and give up your familiarity, even though it's horrible,
right.
scary.
That makes sense. And some of these women have no longer may have a pimp, and that they're this is their job
Yeah,
because they started with the pimp, and maybe they were no longer financially beneficial to the pimp, and so this is all they know, and that's how they survive. And
yeah,
to go into a regular work job where it rules and
yeah.
dressing to professional, that's hard.
It is hard. And it's also, as you know, Sherry, when you come out, it's you have to at some level face your trauma. And the same gal that I was mentioning earlier, she said, "I'm not ready to face that. It's just too much."
Yeah,
And you know, I can't blame her. It's got to be painful.
yeah, it took
And
me
yet
20
there is
years.
life. Praise God.
20 years.
Yay, Sherry.
Now you can't get me to shut up.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That's great.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love what you're doing. And when I met you, it's just, you have such a caring heart and you care for these women. And we say women a lot because the majority of the people we encounter that are being trafficked are women. We, and I really work with the trafficked boys or men because that's just too uncomfortable for me. But, I love what you're doing. How could the person who's listening to this help you and Mercy's New? What could they do to help you?
Pray for us. Pray that the Lord will guide us and that He will bring more workers along.
Okay.
There's a great need to do this, to reach out to people. And what they can do, it's not so much about my organization, but if they just see somebody, give them a smile, acknowledge them, because some of the people that are trafficked look very normal,
Mhm.
or they might be dressed, a little bit risque if they're in their teens. But you know what? Giving them a taste of dignity that they matter can go a long way to them. And it might prevent them from getting sucked into this and coerced into it, or it might help give them encouragement while they're there. There
Yeah.
just needs to be more of that to really help these people. And if you encounter a victim, uh, call the local police. They need to know something's going on. Do not confront them because that might be dangerous for you and the other person.
Hmm.
But the police need to know so they can devote resources to it. I was at the Gila Center at a concert one time waiting to get in and saw a gorgeous gal all decked out come with a guy in a t-shirt and jeans on a bike escorting her. And I knew that didn't look right. And I thought,
Yeah.
if I call the police, they're not going to get here in time. Well, subsequently, a month or two later, I talked with a detective and he said, please call, because even if they don't get there in time, they will register it and they will start devoting more resources to
Okay.
that type of crime. And that's what's needed. I mean, the
Hmm.
detective I work with, they have, 70 massage parlors and there's only two of them working to do these crimes. And it's just, You got to follow the money. It's intensive.
A lot of work.
Yes.
And by the time they get to where they follow the money, that the women have been moved on to other locations, and then there's new ones. And
Yeah. The women's are pawns for these pimps, because all the money goes to the pimps. And so thankfully, the police are really starting to see the women as women and giving them dignity, showing them that they've been victimized and want to help them with
right,
resources. And that's
right.
been a wonderful, wonderful shift in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that was always one of my biggest fears when I turned to 18. That if I and praise God, I never got arrested, but that was one of my fears. That okay, now I'm 18 and I wasn't rescued till I was 21. So thinking, so now if I were ever to get arrested, they would label me as a prostitute, saying that I chose to do this. And so I'm
That's such a
thankful
problem.
now that the laws are changing to where it is where you can see more about how somebody's been trafficked and
Me too.
get some of those charges
I'm very
removed.
grateful.
So thankfully we got the vacator law updated this year. So I mean that
Yes.
went into effect in October, and
Well done, Sherry. That's
that'll help
awesome.
that'll help survivors who have been charged with a crime here, at least in Arizona, to petition the jurisdiction the crime was in to have it set aside. So
I am
that's
thrilled
awesome.
about that. I have wanted that for years. So thank you for working on that. Wonderful.
Oh,
Way to go.
yeah, for all of us, though,
Yes.
there's a core group of, I call us the boots on the ground women, and these are the women that I'm going to be featuring in our Human Trafficking Awareness Month series in January. Um, and so
The
if you're
other,
watching, it's January.
yes. Yeah.
And
Um,
because people need to know
they
what
do.
a lot of people are doing, because the focus is so much on these large organizations that where it's like the money, they get a lot of money, but then they're paying a lot of employees, so they need a lot of money, where a lot of us just need enough money to be able to complete our mission that God's sent us on.
Yes. Yes.
you know
One of the other things I want to bring up that Mercies New does is awareness presentations,
okay,
because people need to know best prevention is education.
right.
And the average age of entry is, 11-year-olds for boys and 12 for girls, and or thereabouts. And
We get younger every year.
yeah, and so they need to know, the grandparents or the parents, aunts and uncles, brothers, sisters, whoever it is, need to educate their children and be vigilant to watch phones, social media, who their friends
Mhm.
are. And as we can get out the word of what the flags are, and you can find all that stuff online.
Yeah,
But
at pearl at the
it's, yes,
mailbox.org. You can find all that stuff online.
yes, because you have done great work at getting information out
There's
about
just a
grooming.
lot of information on the website where you
Yeah.
can understand
So,
what grooming and trafficking is. And I
so
love what you're doing, Nancy. Are you able to get in front of audiences often?
I usually when I schedule it, which is about once a year. Sometimes if
Okay.
I'm more ambitious, it'll be more often than that. But I'm always willing, if somebody says, "Hey, can you come speak?" I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah. So if anybody wants me to come talk here in Phoenix area, contact Sherry and she'll contact me.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. 100%. I would do that because Phoenix is so large that we need a lot of voices throughout the valley to be able to educate and prevention and awareness. So I think that's awesome. Well, any closing things that you would like to say about your ministry and this fight to end grooming and trafficking here in America?
I would just say that thank you for listening, for caring, for supporting Sherry and these other ministries that she'll be highlighting. And please share it. Share the information so we can stop it. And know that you can make a difference. I have a great team of people that do various things like donate clothes and shoes or whatever, or just pass the word. And every little bit helps. So don't feel overwhelmed. There's organizations you can get trained with, and you can find them through Sherry or in her organization or other places.
Mhm.
Um, so thank you for caring, and pray for us that God would continue to open doors and set people free.
Absolutely. Nancy, I want to thank you for your time, and I am so excited for listeners and viewers to get to know you and all that you're doing
Well, thank
on
you.
this front.
It's always a privilege to be with you, Sherry, and I treasure your friendship and everything you're doing. Thanks for standing in there in the fight.
Oh,
You make
let's
a
fight
difference.
fight together.
We do.
Fight
We do.
together.
So
Okay, thank you,
thank you.
Nancy.
Okay. Bye bye.